Okay, so we have a Euro USD and a gold breakdown done. Now we're gonna go into another Euro USD breakdown. This was so today's the 14th. I'm doing it the next day. Yesterday was the 13th. It was Friday, December. So we're gonna do a quick breakdown. We're not gonna make it too long. So let's go and mark out the start of Friday yesterday, which is here, Friday, plus or minus this. Like I said, around 2 o'clock for me is Asia start, which is not the most important, but sometimes you do need Asia high as basically a way of guiding. So 7 o'clock is Frankfurt start, 8 o'clock, no, sorry, it would be 9 o'clock end because that's the Euro start, and then yeah, 9 o'clock the London session starts. Okay, so quickly, just to mark out this part of the action we don't have, it's all out. So I open the daily. The daily for me is bearish. So I was thinking I want to go bearish to sell off because the sell off was really strong, especially that we swiped this high in here and then we wicked it on the daily. So we swept the daily high, and the daily candle, the same time frame candle, closed as a real liquidity sweep with a wick. So I was basically bearish after a drop like this, but also if it was to sweep some liquidity like down here, I could see a reaction. Also, this was a really big drop and there was no retracement, not a single day of an up candle. So potentially we could have seen a retracement. We talked about this on gold on the 12th of December video, where gold was bullish, but I did say I see a retracement, and it did retrace. So here, as we can see on the 4 hour, we also have right here, this is the only liquidity sweep because you see it broke down. This was a liquidity sweep, but this high did not get swept, this did not get swept, this did not get swept, and this did not get swept. And plus the really literally the first point of liquidity, which is the first last high, was this, which did not get swept as well. So we had about 4 liquidity points to the upside that just need to be swept. And then this is a Monday low, right? So here we have Tuesday of the last week, then we have a Monday here, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Monday. Okay, so this is actually from last week. This is yeah, that was the last week's low. It was Monday, 2nd of December, and then you have all this action, blah blah blah. Sunday, now it's this your week, and it kept going down. And from this last Monday's low, it flew up to that liquidity point. So it was a strong liquidity point here. It's a weekly low. So now we have that this weekly low got swept, so the last weekly low, and on top of that, a liquidity that has not been touched from 2 weeks ago, from Tuesday. Um, yeah, with this liquidity right here, first point of liquidity as a target and looking towards it. So when you open the 1 hour, you have the 1 hour to be bearish, but again, even the 1 hour again having trouble. So I'm going to just delete this and show myself that this is the Asia low, high. You have again 1 hour went up, went down, didn't sweep that high, and made this drop here with no liquidity, went up, dropped down. The break of structure here was not so strong to make this a really valid liquidity for it to drop, but also we had to watch how the action reacts of this area to see if it's going to go up. Remember, we can have a liquidity run or we can have a liquidity sweep. So again, here's our targets around this zone. So then I opened the 15, and again I was more towards the bearish side. As I said, to be fair, I don't lie, I was more towards the bearish side just because of how the market was dropping so much. So then here I have Friday opened, and this is for sure plus or minus Asia high right here, and then the price went down, and when it swept these liquidity points, so this is still Asia session, right? You have Asia low in here now. This would be Asia low. So it generated another liquidity point. So we now had this first line is weekly, is a weekly low. If it just stops glitching out, this is last week's low. So it's a liquidity taken. And this also is another big low taken. So even if the trend is down, if it sweeps very strong liquidity when it's dropping, it it could buy, because market goes from liquidity to liquidity. It can't just drop all the time and never go up for retracement to collect some more orders. If it drops through liquidity like this, you could potentially start seeing a pretty big um, buy to sweep some liquidity. And now we also generated in Asia session at an Asian low. So we went up, went down. Here we have a market structure shift in Asia still, and then we basically have this liquidity sweep still all in Asia. So we still all our movement is in Asia. Um, so there's no breakdown. But when we open the 5 minute, what we're seeing now is we have this liquidity. The start of Frankfurt swept this liquidity point right here and dropped under the market structure shift. So for me, I'm seeing this and I'm thinking, if I remember correctly on this, I'm seeing very strong indications of a continuation to go down, because Frankfurt opened. Okay, to be fair, if I do this 100% correctly and analyze, I can see where the mistake could have happened, which is like if you were to sell, because when you analyze better, you see it in the moment, things happen and it's not a problem. But what I see is this wick which swept liquidity was still Asia. Frankfurt opened and dropped without sweeping any liquidity. So the candle dropped down and it hasn't swept liquidity to the upside. And here you can clearly see our Asia low that we have marked, a lot of wicks, showing you that the Asia low is holding up as a liquidity. So, well, liquidity slash support zone, whatever, and price needs to go up to sweep more liquidity. And where is our nearest liquidity from this drop? There is no highs in here that broke structure, so the high would be here. If I need to, which I will later, I will explain more about first point of liquidity. So you're going to consider this as a first point of liquidity, not this, because this did not break down or market structure shift. So then I'm going to delete this liquidity sweep. When we have our 5 minute during Frankfurt, you have the price trying to rally up here, right? Now, when we open the 1 minute candle, again, I need to just a little bit annoying. I need to find it. When we open Frankfurt, I was in here after this when it went up. I was still thinking it could sell. So just to make sure, I might actually, let me just open my C Trader. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to open my C Trader and check out the history. But 1047. So we have 1047. Yeah, how I remember, I went into this trade um, a little bit more safe because of its December price action. It's December price action. It's not the best, and yeah, I wanted to be a bit more safe. So this, okay, in here we had, like I said, we had our Asia high sweep in here, or the high sweep, and then this was Frankfurt high, right? So the price was pushing up. So I was seeing that the price pushed up. This POY got rallied through. It got rallied through, and then you had this liquidity point here that it kept uh, going for. So we're not seeing any good sells. We don't have a good reaction of this POY. Well, the reaction is not so bad, but it's not um, showing. Maybe I will tell you the truth now. I did put a small sell on Euro USD on my second account, on my lower account, and I think I entered here. possibly when the price reacted with that first wick and then with that black down candle. I could have potentially went in for a sell in here if I entered during Frankfurt. If I entered during London, that means I'm pretty sure I entered the trade here on these reactions and the trade lost around here. Okay, so then Frankfurt basically is getting broken through. There's no good reaction, no good action. So then this gets liquidated. Now we have the Frankfurt high slash an Asian liquidity that we need first before we need to move, because Frankfurt hasn't swept any liquidity except the down. So all the power is to go up to the next liquidity points. So then it swept liquidity, kept going up. So it went through it very fast. As you can see, it broke through it very fast, showing you that it's still strong to the upside. It did some break of structures, and this is where I possibly went wrong. Then this got swept, and the price went up, swept this liquidity here, had really good reactions to the downside. So I am not angry or ashamed to take the L here, because this trade looks perfectly fine. It went up, it swept the liquidity it needs, and if London was to continue its downtrend, or today was to continue its downtrend, this would have been a good entry and it would have sold. Instead, Euro USD decided to make a retracement. So that's what I said. You're not in one of the videos, you're not always correct. You can enter, and if you're entering with your bias and with your rules, if you lose the trade because the trade flipped, like the direction of the bias flipped, it's not your fault. You entered with the bias at that time. If you entered and you get flipped and it starts to rise, it's not a problem. Then you can find a buy. So it flipped and it was going there. A lot of consolidation. There was no movement whatsoever, right? Then it after it swept this here, this low, and then reacted of this mixed POI here where they're together. The price touched, was going up, and then here was the breakout of this London open high, right? It broke up really hard. So now we have, it went up, it went down, it went up. Here we have a market structure shift, meaning this is our liquidity before we hit this POI. Then we get our nice reaction from the POI, and then the price retraced a little bit, sent us a second good up candle, and as you can see, that's where my two entries came in. And then I held through this. Then it dropped, I brought my stop loss. So when I entered, I did like this. I entered in here, not exactly there, a little bit to the left. Stops were under this or under the full POI. I don't remember exactly. I think it was somewhere in here because I already got the reactions. And then when I was in here, when the price reached this point, I thought to myself, here, market structure shift. Here is the liquidity for this POI. So when I saw this being created, this POI, what did I do? I brought my stop loss. I brought my stop loss and my trade in here. I put break even under here because if it goes lower than this, I was willing to keep riding the trade. So it went there, never hit my break even, and look where the trade went. It went even higher all the way. And then how I remember, I'm not even messing. Yeah, I remember this exactly. This is New York Open. I remember this for sure. That's why I'm saying I'm not lying. It broke structure here, and I was a little bit worried because it swept liquidity. You see, I have the liquidity here marked out, and it reacted off not the fair value gap, maybe not, maybe 50%, but I was a little bit worried. I put my stop loss. I think at this point, my trade, I was still holding it, but my trade was in break even. One of the positions was break even, just I think maybe just under this stop loss, under here. So I think it was break even under the fair value gap, and the second trade was break even here. So I moved my stop loss. I didn't re-enter. I held it. When I saw this break right here, I was really confident, and I said thank you. Moved my break evens a bit higher, and now I was watching for a reaction on this POI. The reactions reacted off, as you can see, but they closed a little bit in. So then I said it's not a good reaction. This is a first point of liquidity. If this gets swept, it should get swept and then do a market structure shift before going down, because it can't just go up, sweep a big liquidity, 1 minute market structure shift, and just fly down. Then it kept going, and I literally took my profit right at the top of this candle, right here. It's New York Open. I took my profit, maybe not the top, maybe like right here. I took it. I took the TP. I closed my full trade, and then it went down, came back up here, and went all the way down. So I literally caught an amazing trade that day on Euro USD December price action. Still, I don't recommend price action for December. It's too difficult for newcomers. Better just practice on a demo and see how your results are during December. Don't buy funded accounts. Don't put in real money. First, just trade your demo, practice, and see how you go. So that's the video. I think the video was a little bit longer than expected. I will try to, if I can, with the recorder, to cut out um, the part where I was looking for prices, and from there we move on.